A number of years ago, actually, the first time I presented the Subliminal Selling Secrets workshop, attendees noted in their evaluations they wanted more hands-on experience on how to identify their customers' preferred sensory modality. I spent a lot of time during the workshop on the subject, but attendees wanted me to guide them through the process so they could actually experience what we were discussing during the workshop. They believed this would be an opportunity to actually help them understand how this will work for them when they're with a customer. Some attendees told me they've heard about this stuff but didn't understand how to identify it or how to use it to make more sales. And talking about it wasn't enough for them. They wanted more than just discussion. I toyed with numerous ideas on how I could go about making this identification process as interactive as possible. To make a long story short, I was watching TV one evening that featured a mentalist. He was performing his act that included a couple of volunteers that he got from the audience, and the idea came to me how I should go about making the sensory modality identification process an interactive and memorable experience. Now when I present the workshop, I'm right on target. Attendees indicate the hands-on experience identifying a customer's preferred sensory modality is what really helps them to understand what body language and eye movements they should be looking for when they're identifying a customer's preferred sensory modality. I set the stage the same way the mentalist did. I ask for a couple of volunteers and tell them it's a non-speaking role. When I assure them it's a non-speaking role, more people are inclined to volunteer. I reinforce the non-speaking part by instructing them not to vocalize any answers to the questions I'm going to ask them. All I want them to do is to go inside themselves and search for the answers. Even if they can't find the answers, I don't want them to say a word. Then I instruct the audience to observe each volunteer's body language as they probe for the answers to the questions that I'm going to ask them. I also instruct the audience to pay particular attention to the volunteers' eyes and eye movements that they make while they're searching for the information. To make this a really great learning experience, I encourage the audience's participation by asking them after each question if they noticed any particular body language and or eye movements displayed by the volunteers while they were searching for the answers. This is one of the best ways to pair verbal and nonverbal communication, and everyone remembers the process. After the first few questions, the audience really gets involved. They begin to observe things they didn't notice before and quickly pick up what they should be looking for. Many times during the workshop, the audiences have indicated they noticed that the volunteers made similar eye movements but in opposite directions. The reason we'll talk about in just a moment. When I asked a particular question, both volunteers looked up, but one looked to their left and the other looked to their right. And audiences also indicated they noticed that with another set of questions, the volunteers, their eyes stayed level, but again, one looked to the left and one looked to the right. An audience at this point usually feel they're onto something, but aren't sure what they're witnessing. I point out that during their customer baseline calibration process, they have to pay particular attention to the customer and determine if they're left or right-handed. The reason? Left-handed individuals may reverse their eye movements. This is known as reversed cerebral organization. As sometimes turns out, one of the volunteers is left-handed and the other is right-handed. This always works too well for me because I don't ask the volunteers if they're left or right-handed, because this is something I want the audience to discover. The next step in the sensory identification process is reinforcing the idea of scripting questions. This group experience clearly demonstrates that by scripting questions, a salesperson is able to watch their customer's body language and eye movements. That's the easiest way to be able to determine their customer's preferred sensory modality. And audiences quickly learn it's more important to observe their customer than thinking about questions. As soon as you begin paying more attention to your customer's body language and their eye movements, you'll be able to quickly determine their preferred sensory modality. Once you know that, you'll have the key to their buying strategy and you'll make more sales. Ulrich Leinhase, wishing you maximum selling success.